Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Sebastian Gonzalez, and we are doing isometric core exercise today. And this is going to be a recap of about 7 different exercises that we like to use here. It's in correlation with a video or an article that I did. It's an extremely comprehensive article on the history of core training, how now we have different thought processes with it, and now we've gone to pillar strength as well as working the entire section right here, including breathing, bracing, and much more with actual core training. So this is a good fundamental. Go to the article I have in the link description below, and you'll get to learn all about core training. We're going to go through 7 things here. The first is the bird dog. The next is the McGill curl up, side bridge, stir the pot, Pallof press. I'm reading off a list here. So we have bridging progressions, and that's going to be from Dan John, and the dead bug. So going through each of them, keep in mind we do have separate videos on majority of these, so we're going to go really quickly through the progressions and setups for it. So let's go to the bird dog first. Okay, so with the bird dog, she's going to be hands and knees. Knees and hands are below the joints above it, so that's number 1. Think about creating a really nice coffee table. So typically I like people to push down, push up, and then find their center, because a lot of times they don't know where they're at. Press your hands into the ground, pressing my shoulder or my finger to the ceiling. So now this is a nice position. Drop that down slightly there. Good. So she's going to lock this down really good. So I shouldn't be able to push her anywhere. So she's being really active with it. Now she's going to bring this arm out, reach out as far as she can, and then crush like she's crushing toothpaste. Okay. What this is going to do, it's going to activate the shoulder girdle really well. Notice that nothing else really changed and she didn't shift weight over to me or anywhere else. Okay, bring this one down for me. Let's do this leg. So we're going to drive the heel out as far as she can that way, not just to the ceiling. Okay, she's keeping her hips and pelvis in line. Again, if she was a coffee table, we can balance a cup of coffee on her. I wish I had a cup of coffee. I'd leave it right there. So she's driving super hard. Come up a little bit, drive further. There you go. So she's getting this cheek really active here. Okay, bring that down again for me. Now we tie these 2 parts together. So let's do opposite arm, opposite leg. Good. And ideally what we're looking for, and this is the whole point of isometric core exercises, we're not looking for fluctuations of the torso here. Go ahead and come down again for me. So she's going to try everything in her power to keep this section, actually we'll call the pillar, with this section completely the same while the ball and sockets are moving. Go ahead. Okay, that looks pretty good. Obviously there's things we can clean up here as well, but for the most part this is a pretty good bird dog. There's progressions to this. Check the link description in the video, below the video, to see the rest for this. Go ahead and come down. Let's do the McGill curl up next. So the McGill curl up, actually, I'll grab a stick real quick, is actually from Dr. Stuart McGill. And go ahead and go on your back for me. So this is one of his big 3, and I really do like it. It's very safe for a lot of people, but also a lot of people do curl-ups and sit-ups where they're actually rounding the spine, which is part of a dynamic core exercise where the spine actually moves. So let's bring one leg down. That'll work, okay? So from this point, and I'll come around here just so you can see, imagine like we're jacking a car up here, okay? That's the end of the jack right there, and here's where my handle's at, okay? We want the torso and head to come up pretty similar to this stick right here, okay? So at any point if we break this stick or break this pillar, then we're doing it wrong, okay? So I'm going to have her put her hands on the flats of her back, kind of in this mannerism here. Good. Give me a double chin. Good. If someone doesn't get this, you can tell them to crush a can underneath their chin or underneath their neck and between the floor, okay? Now, if I was to slide paper underneath these armpits, I want them enough to slide paper underneath it. So bring those up slightly. Good. So at this point, she's going to bring her body up just a little bit. Go ahead. So I see a little bit of a curve, but we want it to move it mainly like this stick. Go ahead and come down again. So a cue I like to use is to tell people to raise their shoulder blades off the ground just barely, or just lightening a scale if they were on a scale. So just come up a little bit. Good. So right here, I typically like to have them breathe. So breathe in your nose, out your mouth, and in your nose, and out your mouth about 3 times. And the point of this is to be able to create a good breathing pattern while still under strain, because intra-abdominal pressure or pressure within the abdominal cavity is really important to core stabilization. So next we're going to the side bridge. So we'll do it facing. Okay? The side bridge is a little bit different than the side plank, and actually go on your back first to start. So the side bridge, most people know a bridge, and we will go into a bridge here in a second. Actually spin this way a little bit just for the camera. That'll work, okay? So give me a bridge. Okay, so she's mainly driving the hips forward. Everything else kind of remains constant. Now go ahead and rotate this to the side. So go facing the camera. Go ahead and come down. Rotate this way. Good. So now we see, and chest up. Good. So now we see she has that same bent position, okay? And to get herself into a side bridge, we're basically just going to have her drive her hips forward. So first off, you have to make sure that this right here, I see an arch, she's got a little arch right here. So go ahead and drive this thing through. Good. So I always tell people if this was a Jenga block, like that Jenga game, just slide the single block through. And we're basically sliding that rib cage through. Okay? Keep as stout of this stick here as the stick right here, and then go ahead and drive the hips forward that direction. Good. And now she's going to pause for about a breath of 2 or 3 again. Same mannerism as the last one. And if I was going to cue her on breathing, I'd have her breathe into my hands right here. So go ahead and expand my hands when you breathe. If you don't understand intra-abdominal pressure, I do have a section in the article on that as well. So that link will be in the description too. So when she comes back now, so go ahead and bring these hips back towards me. So she's sitting it down just like she did in the bridge. And go ahead and do a poor one for me actually. So go ahead and drive straight up to the ceiling. Okay, so she can drive into the ceiling now. So she's activating mainly this. And go ahead and slouch down to the ground straight. Okay, so this is poorly getting out of the side bridge. And a lot of people who have pain in the back or in the hip are going to flare up from something like this. So we need to have pressure and integrity within this pillar the entire time. So the next one is stir the pot. And these are not going in order of hardness, by the way. So let's see, why don't we go, there we go. We'll go from the elbows. So first thing is, and I'll recap on this, the pillar or the core, the pillar is the entire section, does not change the position that it is in to start, okay? So I'm going to have her hollow a little bit here. Just give me a little bit up, a little bit down. So right there, so lock that in, breathe into my hands here. And down again, and I see a little bit of this going on. Go ahead and drop that chest through slightly. Good. So now she's going to press into the ball with her elbows, bring the legs out. Some people can't do it from the legs, some people do it from the hands. Now she's just basically just going to stir this pot. So it doesn't take a lot of movement to really do this exercise, but I usually have them do it for about 10 seconds. And then bring the knees down to the ground, and then she's breaking. And the reason why we do it for 10 seconds is because a lot of times the form will degrade, and also there's underlying things happening in the muscle, which I do have evidence for on a podcast that I spoke with Dr. McGill about personally. Okay, that's stir the pot. We're next going to go into the Pallof press, but we'll have to take a different camera view. So now we have the Pallof press, and this one can be done with many different variations. There's kneeling ones, there's short kneeling, tall kneeling, standing. There's a ton, okay? And what basically is happening here is she's locking down the torso position. Breathe into my hands here. Good. Act like you have a balloon on your head and I'm pulling you straight to the ceiling. And she's starting with her hands against her chest, and this decreases the lever. Next, I want you to press the hands out. Good. Going for breaths of 2 or 3, or you can say 10 seconds, but some people forget to breathe, so sometimes breath counts are nice. And when she returns, she's returning back just to the center of the chest again. What's the point of this thing, you might wonder? Okay, so she's not moving at all, but the lever arm, go ahead and go again, from the band to whatever you attach it to is changing, okay? Just like you're changing a bolt on a car or a tire on a car, the longer the lever, the easier it is for you to push, and we're giving this band mechanical advantage. So it's trying to turn her, okay? Go ahead and come back. So this is anti-rotational training for this pillar system right here, or the core, okay? One more time. Breathe into my hands. And we can change one thing back here for all the people that are sticklers. Bring those toes on the ground. There you go. If you want to make it harder, you can go into a narrower foot position as well, like you're on a 2x4. Go ahead and come back and relax. Now we're going into the actual bridge progression. This is from Dan John. So go ahead and go on your back for me. And the reason why I'm giving a progression to the bridge, not just going from double leg to single leg, is because, actually scoot this way a little bit, is because a lot of times people are very lazy about what their torso is doing during this exercise. And the whole point of it is, again, is isometric or non-movement core or pillar training. Pillar is a coined term, by the way, not by me, so I'm not trying to steal it. So basically what we're doing is we're locking this thing down and we're going to drive the hips into the air. So go ahead and give me symmetry there. Drive the cheeks into the air. Crush a quarter for me, okay, between your cheeks. So she looks pretty good here. So I don't see extension. Show me extension. So I don't see extension happening with it, and she's really getting the hips all the way up. Give me lazy hips. And so she's not being lazy either. Go ahead and drop down. So there's a couple ways to make this harder on the person, and not necessarily to make it hard in the sense that they have to work harder, but we're activating the cheeks and the backside a little bit easier because some people just don't have the ability to recognize it. So the first thing is you can put bands around their knees, or you can just stand over them like this. So I'm going to drive my legs in. Good. So drive them out. Drive the hips up. Crush the quarter. So this is a lot harder for a lot of people. And she's holding it for, let's just say 10 here again. And go ahead and go down. Okay. Next thing you can do is hands in the air, just like that. So here, I'm going to have her drive into my hands first, because she's keeping that torso engaged, and now she can drive the hips into the air. Holding for 10 again, and you can see she's really struggling here, and this one is quite a bit harder. And go ahead and go down, hips down, keep me, good, and then relax. So it's important to have them engage the midsection here before they start moving the ball and socket here, or ball and socket there, okay? Proximal stabilization before distal mobility. It's really important, okay? The last one is a bird, or the dead bug progression. So the bird dog exercise is one that it's a very fundamental one we use with rehab, but it's also very poorly done by a lot of people. So first let's go knees up, hands up. There we go. So this is how, I don't know if I said bird dog or dead bug, but these are how bugs die. Okay, they are on their back, legs all curled up and everything. So the first thing we see done poorly is people tend to arch. So give me an arch right there. So their back comes off the ground, and it's not necessarily that we want, go ahead and come down again. We don't necessarily want them to be driven into the ground 100%, but we certainly don't want them to fluctuate. Again, isometric, non-movement, that is the whole point of this whole video series on this, okay? So the first thing is, get them to drop down, breathe into my hands here, press my hands out as you breathe in. This is the combat chest breathing in to promote proper pressure inside this section right here. Once she has that, we're gonna have one leg drop down. And if I feel her lift up at all, and I'll do the cueing on this side, I'll tap her. Okay, so pause right there. A lot of times people tend to extend while they're doing even 2 reps. So I like to have them act like I have a little string on their kneecap, and I try to pull their kneecaps to the ceiling slightly, just so they drive this in again, have them breathe again and reset it, and drop one leg down at a time. And everyone has different ranges here. Okay, the further your legs go out or the straighter they are, the harder it is. So sometimes it even takes slight movement. Okay, so that's one section of the dead bug. The other one is we have arm movement. So just give me only arm with this one. And some people don't have the ability to do the arm well. It does happen. And this will correlate into shoulder conditions. You might think it's lat length, but really there's a lot more to it than that. So that's the arm movement section. Now we tie them together. Okay, kneecaps to the ceiling, drive the fingertips through the ceiling, breathe into my hand. Give me one leg, one arm, opposing. And we'll have a reset after doing the second one. Now you might wonder, does it really matter to go opposing? People do it same side as well, so go ahead and same side. Yeah, it's hard to think about. So half the time the people tend to have an issue with just doing same side versus opposing sides. And I just let them do whatever they're challenged with, yet doing well. And then I direct their attention to the next one. So go ahead and relax for me. Okay, so these are the basic 7 isometric exercises that I like. There are a lot more to do, but you'll see overall as a general theme, we're not moving the torso around or the trunk or the spine around a lot. We're locking it down, we're holding a position, creating high internal pressure, and then moving the ball and socket joints. So if you have questions on this, I wrote an entire 20-page article on this. and the history of core training and how we kind of think of it today. Because there's a lot of people out there who do core training poorly and have a very old concept of what core training actually is and what it's for, okay? It's to improve function of the body, not just to look ripped and shredded. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please do so. You'll get videos just like this when they come out, and I have a ton more coming out over the next year. I'll talk to you guys soon.